Hello and welcome. My name is Jen Short and I am the Course Director of the Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Science. It is my very great pleasure to lead you through a presentation today that will hopefully allow you to answer the question, why is it that you might want to study pharmaceutical science, particularly here at Monash University? Throughout my presentation, you can pop your answers into the chat and we'll have a bit of a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And hopefully we can address any questions or concerns that you might have then. Before I begin though, I wish to acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nation on whose land I stand today. I pay my respects to their leaders, present, past and emerging. And I realise that you may be joining me from elsewhere in Melbourne or perhaps Victoria, even interstate or internationally. So I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land from where you join me today. So the question is, why study pharmaceutical science? And I will try to go to the next slide. Monash University researchers, academics and graduates are committed to changing the world for better. We are committed to challenging accepted thinking and dogma and overturning what is considered to be fact. If you don't like the word incurable in the context of modern medicine, we invite you to come and change it. Change the outcome for the good of all. I've done a lot of open days. I've done quite a few, and one of the main questions that arises early, and it's quite an understandable question knowing that we are in the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Science, is what is the difference between those two degree programs? For both disciplines, medicines are the essence and underpin everything that we hope to achieve. Pharmacists are medicine experts and they work with patients and healthcare teams to create and improve health outcomes. Pharmaceutical scientists advance the science of new and existing medicines. They really are the people that interplay between the biology and the chemistry of new drugs. They're experts in the design and development and creation of new medicines to treat diseases and disorders. Pharmaceutical scientists know how the body works. They know how chemicals, such as drugs, interact with the body to create better outcomes. And they know how chemicals, such as drugs, behave. And so they're able to create effective, reliable, and accessible medications to help treat some of the unmet clinical needs that exist today. You might be thinking, well, why would I choose Monash University? And for me, our rankings speak for themselves. Over the last 10 years, we've consistently been in the top 10 worldwide for pharmacy and pharmacology. We are number 2 in the world with regards to the rankings for pharmacy and pharmacology. We're only second to Oxford, and I feel like we're going to catch them pretty soon. It might be that you're interested in our faculty-wide commitment to innovation in education. We are committed to increasing education scholarship and knowledge about what best facilitates learning and skill development. We've been on the forefront of the curricular revolution that is active learning, that places students at the centre of their learning. We have a very strong focus on employability skills. Now that begins with ensuring that students are exposed to workplace relevant and authentic scenarios in their learning, but are also exposed to the workplace with early and in extended experiential learning or work integrated learning opportunities. So our students will undertake guaranteed placements in research or industry depending on their area of interest. Skills development, though, is an individualised process. And we understand that the student needs to be in control and regulating that pathway. And so what we've done is create a world-first program where each and every student is put into a small group with an academic leader who acts as a skills coach and helps them to develop their own personalised journey towards being an advanced pharmaceutical scientist. And it's more than just being able to attain those skills. It's about being able to articulate and demonstrate them to others when you're ready to enter the workplace. You might be drawn to our campus at Parkville. It is a really beautiful place to work. We're surrounded by parkland. We're surrounded by suburbs such as Carlton and Brunswick, and it's a really energetic environment. We are a single purpose campus. We only teach the 2-degree programs of pharmacy and pharmaceutical science. And so that means that you'll start to build those networks with students and academics and researchers, and you really do feel part of a really strong and well-supported community. We're right at the centre of Melbourne's medical and biotech precinct. So if you're looking ahead, again, you're starting to build those networks that can help you when you're ready to seamlessly transition into the workplace. And of course, we're part of Monash, Australia's biggest university. Lastly, to put us in context even further, when you talk about the pharmaceutical industry, you can't be better positioned than in Melbourne. There are 150 biotech companies, and we work here at the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Science alongside the Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Science, the #1 institute in Australia for the type of research that you'll be undertaking in your undergraduate or the work that you will be doing once you graduate. We realise that this is a time of immense change in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry, and we're in the perfect position to help you reach your goals when it comes time for you to graduate. Lastly, you're probably thinking about student life at Parkville. As I said, we're close to Melbourne's central business district. You've got public transport right at your door. And we really believe that you will make friends and peers and colleagues and start the networks that will be with you for the rest of your life here at Parkville. You'll have a peer mentor from the day that you arrive. There's a dedicated clubs and societies, many dedicated clubs and societies located on campus. And we have a strong and inclusive community of over 30% international students, very diverse, very welcoming. You might be thinking about, well, where do I study and what do I do? So just to let you know, we've got the facilities that you need to help you to succeed in your undergraduate and postgraduate career. But I don't want you to take me on my word. I'd like to invite you to visit our booth and go and chat to some of our current students. They're really passionate and engaged, and they'll be the best person to tell you about, the best people to talk to about what life is like here at Parkville. So let's move on and let's talk about pharmaceutical science, because people often ask me, what is pharmaceutical science? Now, the mantra of the Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Science is better medicines by design. It is a very deliberate process where first up, biologists start to look at disease states and how disease states impact upon the human body. The research is undertaken to look at identifying new drug targets that might be further developed or further targeted to treat unaddressed clinical needs. Now the chemistry comes on board because we start to think about our drug compounds and how a chemical might interact with a biological target to produce a particular outcome in the body. You want to know how that particular drug molecule behaves, and you want to know how it's going to behave in the human body. So it's about being able to create the right mix of drug and the things that go alongside the drug to make sure that you can administer that drug in a stable, safe and effective manner. So again, you're looking at chemistry and biology and how they interact with each other. Once you get past the clinical, the preclinical and the clinical evaluation, and you've confirmed that your drug, your new medicine is doing what you think it will do in terms of safety and efficacy, you start to think about, well, how can we produce this new medicine at scale? And again, that's where the chemistry of formulation comes into play, where you want to really sort of ramp up and start to produce large volumes of a particular medicine, but you need to make sure that it's going to be stable, that you're going to be able to transport it, and wherever you are accessing that particular medication, it's going to, again, work safely and effectively to treat the disorder that you want it to. So what might you do after you graduate from pharmaceutical science degree? Well, you might work for a pharmaceutical company, or you might go on into industry and work and create new medicines. You might work in food or cosmetics. You might work as a biomedical researcher or enter clinical trials space as a person who helps to develop and regulate clinical trials. You might also work for government, for example, in regulatory affairs. There's a wide range of career opportunities available for our graduates after pharmaceutical science. And I would like to also invite you to visit the graduate outcomes booth, and you can hear a little bit more about what could be available for you once you graduate. So again, pharmaceutical scientists, what do they do? I'd like to take you back in time, 150 years or so ago. And in Australia at that time, you were most likely to die of an infectious or a communicable disease. And unfortunately, it really was the young who were quite often going to die of these disorders. Now, through the inspiring work of pharmaceutical scientists over the last century or so, there's been drug medications that have basically, drug interventions, that have basically eradicated a lot of those infectious and communicable diseases in Australia. And so now, as we enter the 2020s and beyond, it's much more likely that you'll reach middle or older age, but our current top causes of death in Australia include those diseases of ageing, neurodegenerative disorders, or diseases or disorders of lifestyle. And so the challenges are even more complex. These are really complicated disease states, and there's a lot of different factors that feed into why it is that people experience the symptoms and the mortality that they do. But again, I'd like to challenge you. As a Monash University pharmaceutical scientist, if you don't like it, you can change it. So if you don't like the fact that people are suffering ongoing neurological deficits after a stroke, that you don't remember or recognise people, or you can't do the physical things that you used to do, okay, well, I invite you to step forward and change that. Change it for the better for everyone. So let's look back at the drug discovery pipeline and think about you as a student coming to join us here to study pharmaceutical science. So again, I talked to you about the idea of that basic research, the biology and the chemistry that underpin what looks like a great candidate molecule, and then being able to formulate it so that you can administer it safely and it's going to work effectively in the body, and then being able to produce it at scale and get it to the marketplace and make sure that it's doing what it should be doing once it's being taken by people in the community. What you can see there is you've got a wide range of careers, and you've got the ability through the units and courses that the coursework that we get you to do in that undergraduate space to understand what's happening across the whole pipeline, but for you to choose where it is that you'd like to pursue or where you'd like to continue in your career. So in first year, we do a lot of the enabling sciences. You'll do physical and medicinal chemistry. You'll do physiology, which is all about understanding how the body works and doesn't work so well in disease states. You'll move on to biochemistry and pharmacology. You'll start to really understand how it is that you design, synthesize, and analyze chemical compounds so that they behave the way that you want them to. And then you'll really, again, start to take that next step and look at how the formulation of a medicine is really important in making sure that you're retaining all of the characteristics that you want once it's in the marketplace. So drug discovery biology, medicinal chemistry, formulation science, there's lots of different career pathways, and you'll get to experience all of those in that undergraduate space so that you're able to work in those interdisciplinary teams and pursue the area that most interests you. In first and second year, you'll do a common units, those enabling sciences that I mentioned. But in third year, we have some really exciting interdisciplinary projects that allow you to work in teams of students to really look at how scientists would work together from drug target to new medicine, all the way along that pipeline. We have professional experience units where you get to go out into research or industry, and you get to have an extended experience or experiential learning opportunity to really sort of confirm to you where it is you'd like to go post-graduation. Many of our students enter the workforce at this point. A lot of our students actually have their jobs lined up by the time they finish third year and they're ready to seamlessly transition into the workplace. Other students, though, can see research as a calling, and so they continue on into honours, or they might continue further into the postgraduate research space. We offer 3 degree programs: a Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Science, a Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Science with Advanced Honours. And in this program, the honours year is inbuilt into the degree program. And so you'll have that guaranteed extended research experience. And then the third degree that we offer is in combination with our colleagues out at engineering, and it's a Bachelor of Chemical Engineering, Bachelor of Pharmaceutical Science double degree. Now, it might sound, you might be worried thinking about how you're going to manage a course that's run from Parkville and Clayton, but what you can see is that we actually, the course is arranged by year level. So you'll spend the first year with us out at Parkville, and then you'll head to Clayton, and then before coming back in third year to really sort of expand your understanding of pharmaceutical science. We have a very strong focus on skills. It's very important to us, and it is essential to you when you're ready to enter the workplace, that you have a lot of knowledge about the drug discovery pipeline, that you know a lot about pharmaceutical science. But equally, it's very important that you have the skill set that enables you to do something with that knowledge. So we have a real focus on critical thinking and problem solving. We focus on communication skills as scientists. The process ends if you can't communicate clearly what it is that you've found and what it means in terms of improving patient health and well-being. We focus on teamwork. There's not a single pharmaceutical scientist who works in isolation. Okay, the workplace is very much driven by teamwork, and we make sure that you're explicitly taught, you're able to practice those skills, and that you're assessed and have the evidence for your readiness to actually enter the workplace and engage in these behaviours. Scientific inquiry and laboratory skills are also essential. We are very lucky here at Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Science because we work alongside the leaders in the field, and that means that we have the equipment and the instruments that are relevant for you in the workplace. And so therefore you have the opportunity to actually be able to be taught how to use those instruments, and you have the skill set that again enables you to seamlessly transition into the workplace. So we think it's great. You're going to have really high level of knowledge, but alongside that, you're going to be able to demonstrate and evidence your skills so that you are ready to graduate and you are ready to take on the career that you've always hoped and dreamed of. So one last thing is the Bachelor of Pharmacy Advanced Honours. We also offer a Scholars Program. So anybody who applies for that particular degree program, if you've got an ATAR that allows you to, you'll be invited to participate in our Scholars Program. And that gives you a bit more interaction with experts in the field, and again, more opportunities to build your network and allow you to move into your career. So thank you very much for listening to me today. I can see that there's some questions coming through on the chat, but I really do recommend that you visit the booths and chat with our amazing academics and our equally amazing and passionate and engaged students about why it is that they like studying pharmaceutical science. And you'll see representatives across each of the different degree pathways, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have. So thank you very much. And now I'll just check out the chat. All right. Okay. So Amy, you've asked a question about studying Monash University Pharmaceutical Science. Would you be able to change to pharmacy if you find that lab work isn't for you? It's a great question, and it's something that people ask me a fair bit is about the laboratory work as a pharmaceutical scientist. Now, there is quite a bit in the undergraduate space. I won't shy away from that, but it doesn't have to be the type of work that you'll undertake after you graduate. Now, in terms of finding out that pharmacy is the course for you, I really do recommend that you visit their booths and talk about what is the defining, how do you differentiate the two degree programs. But if you did undertake pharmaceutical science and you graduated, there is the opportunity to join the graduate program in pharmacy. But I'd really love it if you hung around the virtual open day space and really had a chat to some students about what it is that they like about the two different degree programs, and that might help you to confirm your decision. A question here about pharmaceutical science can lead to biomedical research, but so can the biomedical science course. What's the difference between these courses? Oh, great. Kristen, this is fabulous. And then which would be a better course to choose if I want to go down the path of vaccine research? That is awesome. Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to catch Professor Colin Poughton in the media. He's been on the news and a lot of different scientific programs at the moment. And he's a researcher here at the Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Science, and he's doing some amazing work on vaccines targeted towards coronavirus. And what they've got is a novel approach to the way that you can trigger the body to create antibodies that might help fight off infectious diseases such as coronavirus. Now, which would be a better course to choose? I would say pharmaceutical science, but of course I'm biased. But the reason for that is that you are really focusing on the pharmaceutical there. So you're talking about vaccine research, you're interested in finding better treatment options, and that's what we focus on from day one. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you. Do I need to do a PhD if I want to work as a researcher? I would say no. Research and industry, people often talk about the differences between the two, but there's far more sort of overlap when we think about our students and the pathways that they take. Now, a lot of researchers will do an honours year, okay, and that is really important because you're working full-time on an extended research project and you get to see whether that lab-based problem solving and decision making and experimental design really suits you and what it is that you want to do. Now, then a lot of students do continue on into a PhD, and that of course takes 3 to 4 years, and it's much more intense, but there are plenty of other opportunities to leave after honours and work as a researcher. You can work as a research assistant or a research associate, and you've got the ability to come in perhaps later and do some postgraduate research or do a master's if that interests you. So you're not locked out of anything, okay? And yeah, there's lots of different options at different levels for every student. A question here about how much time I would get to spend doing lab work in a typical week. In first year, I would say that is anywhere from sort of per week, 5 to 10 hours. I would say probably 6 to 8 hours a week in first year. In second year and third year, it does boost up a little bit. So it might be sort of 8 to 12 hours a week. We think laboratory work is essential because it really does allow you to develop your skills in that pharmaceutical science space. Because what it is you're designing, executing, analysing data, interpreting the outcomes, communicating them out. So it really is that perfect opportunity for you to develop all of those skills that I talked about and be able to use your knowledge in an applied context. So yeah, we are a laboratory-based science degree. You will spend a lot of time in the lab in your undergraduate years, but of course, as I said before, that doesn't mean that's where you're going to continue once you graduate. What type of employment experience do I get during the degree? Fantastic question. As I said, I think a little earlier, I talked about that experiential learning, and basically we offer placements, and we offer placements in research facilities, and also we have a really extensive network of industry partners. And so undergraduate students can go and work in industry or research positions for 4 to 8 weeks, depending on what degree program they're doing. And that's in third year. And you get the ability then to have a real taster of what it is that you're going to do as a future pharmaceutical scientist, and also it helps you to decide what it is you don't want to do. So it's absolutely fabulous, and it really does consolidate that kind of skill and knowledge development. Gives you that insight about why it is you're learning the things that you're learning. All right. Okay, so Andrew has asked, what's the advantage of doing pharmaceutical science over science and masters in pharmaceutical science? Okay, on a very pragmatic level, if you did pharmaceutical science with us and you graduate either after third year or after your honours year, we actually have a flexible entry point into the Masters of Pharmaceutical Science, where you can enter either partway through the first year or skip the first year altogether and just undertake the second year of the Masters in Pharmaceutical Science. Now, the reason for that is that first 6 months to a year are really important in allowing graduates from other science degrees to get those to get the knowledge and skills of the pharmaceutical science drug discovery pipeline that I mentioned in the presentation. So if you're coming from a different science degree, you're not going to have that really strong understanding of the biology and the chemistry and how they interplay with each other, and that really deep understanding of drug design and development and what goes on before a drug enters the marketplace. So what is the difference between, okay, so a question again about pharmaceutical science and biomedicine. The question is about articulating the difference. And for me, the difference really is that strong emphasis on drug design and development. Now, if you do biomedical science or a degree program similar to that, you will understand the human body and you'll understand disease, and you'll do units that help you to understand how drugs interact with the body, but you won't get that full and deep dive into the whole process that underpins drug development, drug design and development. So you won't be able to go from that drug target identification and validation. You won't be able to look at the sort of chemistry in the same way of understanding how it is that you might design a molecule so it interacts with a particular drug target and produces the outcome that you want. You won't understand perhaps to the same level of, the same depth about how it is that the body responds to chemicals and how it is that the chemistry drives the response of the body. And you certainly won't have the coverage in terms of how we formulate drugs so that they can reach the desired target and not produce any undesirable side effects or unexpected outcomes. So to me, it really is a much more concentrated experience of pharmaceutical science. And I guess the other thing that in biomedical science they don't do at all, and that's that production that I talked about, the design, the making sure that you can make manufacture large quantities of a drug or a related compound, that you've got the right quality, that it's going to be shippable and it's not going to degrade, and all of those things that come alongside actually creating a new medicine. So yeah, it's pharmaceutical science, but it has a lot of different applications. All right. I think we might be getting close to time. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. This is our final day of open day, but we do offer other opportunities for you to come and check in and ask us questions. But I do really like to, I would really like to encourage you to jump on over to the booths and have a chat to some current students and our academics, and also ask the questions about your prerequisites and what you might need to tick off before you apply. But thank you so much for your time today. I'm particularly interested in pharmaceutical science, and so I think it's been really great to see the sort of questions that are coming through. Thank you very much.